It is Wednesday evening, and you know what that means. It's time for another Auburn Family Night where we take your comments, your questions, and your calls about anything in the Auburn experience, starting right now. War Eagle Auburn family, War Eagle E2C Network family, thank you so much for joining us, whether you are watching live, whether you are watching on the replay, however you got here through YouTube, through Facebook, all the other ways that you can get the show out there. We appreciate you being here, hanging out with us, talking about the Auburn experience and everything that encompasses: sports, culture, and family. Obviously, a lot of sports. We're going to get into all of that tonight, and hopefully a lot of your calls and comments and questions that we'll get to in this show. A couple things that we like to get started with our show, as we always do. You can help us out, even if you're watching on the replay. Start off the show. If you think we've earned it, if you think this is deserving of you offering this to us, smash the like button, the share button, whatever format you're watching on. There's a button below you to help spread the word that the show is live, that the show has happened. People come check this out because we're continuing to try to grow our little family within the Auburn family. So do that. And if you're watching live, start off the chat right now in the comments section by posting where you're watching from, your city, your state. And if you're international, you can do that too with a War Eagle. Want to know who's here hanging out with us. Been holding back a cough for a second. Excuse me. So every Wednesday night, this is my favorite time of the week. Because it is really unscripted. It is about what you want to discuss, the things that you want to talk about. So if you have nothing that you want to talk about, it'll just be me offering my pontifications for roughly an hour about what I want to discuss. But I would love to hear some of the things that are on your mind, the things that you'd like to have thoughts offered about, and anything that you'd like to share. If you want to call in tonight, you can take advantage of that by hitting the call-in link at the very top of the chat right now. Usually brought into you by our friends at allthingsauburn.net. So that is open now if you'd like to check that out and call into the show. You don't have to take advantage of it, but it's there for you if you'd like to. We'd like to see some smiling. We had some good calls last week, so I'd like to keep that momentum, some new faces and things like that. I know it can be scary to call into the show, especially if you do it on camera, but I promise it's not that difficult. So there are a lot of things that we can discuss on the table tonight. Obviously, with collegiate sports and collegiate academic years being, especially for Auburn, winding down or already wound down completely, the news cycle naturally starts to slow down. And this is where content providers like me, I'm speaking for myself, but I'm sure I echo similar sentiments that they feel. We are equally taking a sigh of relief after being at a breakneck speed pretty much until this point. And we also are fretting because there's not as much timely stuff to talk about. So this is where we kind of move more into big speculation, looking towards the future. That's going to become increasing over the next few weeks and months as we draw closer and closer to July. I said January, July to August. And then obviously September will be the big month when we get to college will be back in full session for academics, but also for sports. But there's still going to be plenty to talk about because there's always stuff on you all's minds. So some things this week that are pretty relevant. Obviously, the transfer portal continues. Auburn has made a outstanding last week of it and has already had success with an offensive lineman already this week. So continuing to, in some instances, dominate the transfer portal in terms of needs. Now, you may look at the transfer portal for Hugh Freeze and the Auburn football and say, well, they missed on this guy, they missed on that guy. Who says they wanted him? Now, look, you want anybody who's going to legitimately help you. But at the same time, they're filling needs that are there. They've been very open and transparent with the needs that are there. So that's still there. We can talk a lot about that. Basketball transfer portal has been a bit of a conundrum for Auburn fans, not really knowing what to do with some misses. Matthew Cleveland, who a lot of people thought, including myself, already had a thumbnail made for him. You got to prep things like that to be ready in the content creation business. For him to come and decide to be an Auburn Tiger. So that didn't work out, went to Miami. And it seems like also a high profile Tyrin Lawrence may be considering the G League after transferring out of Vanderbilt, which was one of our supposed options too. And that may still be on the table. But today, some pretty high value targets went onto the board. One was Auburn connections, very recent Auburn connections too. So there at least seems to have been like this roller coaster ride of the basketball transfer portal. Like we were dipping down and now we've kind of, whoa, okay, things are getting interesting again. How thrilling it gets depends on how far we climb up that hill before the excitement takes over. Kevin, good to see you. Thank you so much for checking in on Facebook. I see Kevin's one of those I see a lot on different places, on Facebook, on YouTube and stuff. Good to see you though, however you got here. Good to see you, Rob from Virginia. So you are now back, sir. Is that correct? You were over in, I'll just say overseas because I don't want to speak to exactly where you were if I'm not supposed to. But anyway, if you're back in Virginia, that would mean you're stateside. So welcome back, sir. Good to see you on the call tonight. Robert checking in from Alberta Springs, Louisiana. I don't know that I've ever heard that. So we've got Virginia, we've got Alabama, we've got Louisiana already checking in. Who else is out there? We've got a lot of representatives in Iowa, obviously Georgia, Florida. We need everybody to let us know what states we're in tonight. Who's got the most furthest out there state right now? Believe it or not, we've had somebody check in from Panama. I know that's not a state, but it's a state in terms of the geopolitical sense. But anyway, we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. Continue to check in where you're from. I'd love to hear some of your locations tonight. So back to what we were discussing. Transfer portal for basketball is definitely something of interest right now with a few other targets now into the portal. And so hopefully that gives and also some NBA draft stuff as well. So, I set the show up by saying the news cycle starting to wind down, the traditional news cycle, but there's still plenty to discuss. Also on tap, we can talk about a little bit. And I should have had this already pulled up. The bracket softball is they had a double bye in the SEC tournament as the number 3 seed. They begin play tomorrow against Ole Miss, I believe it is. And if they have a good showing, they could probably play themselves into hosting a first round NCAA tournament, which would be huge. And I would probably have to come to town for. Just saying. So I'm rooting for that. So those are a few of the things out there. And Hugh Freeze was at the Regions Classic, I believe, is the PGA Amateurs Tour thing they do every year in Birmingham, and made some commentary today. So we can obviously talk about that some too, if any of y'all saw some of the clips from that. Thomas, good to see you. Thanks for checking in. Rob says he's back in the States debriefing with Department of Justice. Look at me knowing acronyms and waiting on my dog in quarantine. Well, happy that you made it back safely over here, and hopefully we'll be seeing you more regularly on live streams and video comments and things like that. We have missed, I know you've been there some, but we've missed seeing you on the regular, although we know that you've been doing some strong work over there. So good to see you back. All right, don't be shy. If you want to call in tonight, the phone lines are open for you. It can be on camera or off camera. You dictate the show from this point. So what you want to discuss really is up to you right now. I won't want to belabor this point, but it has been interesting to kind of sit back and think about what transpired with the LSU fan this week, and the whining and complaining that happened from them at the game. Whether or not I wasn't there, I didn't see the incidents. Most of you that are on social media will know kind of what we're talking about here. Essentially, an LSU fan, after their first loss, got to the baseball team, got up in arms and on social media and opened up the can of, what that is Auburn fans on social media when they feel that their beloved university and teams are being attacked. So I've just been thinking about that a lot and just chuckling about an LSU fan thinking they had legs to stand on in terms of as a fan base. All right, we got some questions coming in. I did like Freeze saying that flat out that they will continue to take quarterbacks every year. That was a pretty good interview today from the golf tournament. One of the things that I really liked about, everybody chill when I say this, Harsin, was how until the end, really, he was very direct in what he would say, almost brutally direct sometimes. I think Hugh also is got a air of that, but tends to do it in a more statesman, some would say pastory kind of way. But he's very honest with you, right? Like he just said there, that this year is not an exception. If someone helps us, we're going to take them. And it doesn't matter if you've got Cam Newton. It doesn't matter if you've got this. I'm trying to think what example I could use without being mean to someone that had a very Jonathan Wallace. Jonathan Wallace is actually a coach now, and he married. They're an Auburn family because Alcatero. If y'all have been on social media, but Jonathan, and I think he understood this too, wasn't, at least at Auburn, likelihood of him lasting as a starting quarterback wasn't good. He became the starting quarterback because of several very bad circumstances, and at times looked pretty good, but he was going to be a hard road for him to become the starting quarterback. So whether you have a Jonathan Wallace, who may be a temporary solution in a sense, not a knock on him at all, he's a great person, they're a great Auburn family, or Cam Newton, you're going to take whoever you need to take. And I think what we're talking about is Coach Freeze's comments at the golf tournament, where it happens every year and media gets to go over there and ask questions. If I lived closer, I would definitely go do that. I have family in Birmingham, so I could have a lodging opportunity, but still not in the cards this year. But asked about when they took Thorne, what he thought about Robbie's response. And I think you could read into that whatever you want. I think some people saw it and thought, well, maybe he's making commentary that maybe Robbie had other things to say than he publicly did in social media. But also you could just take it that he's being supportive of just the competition in general. I wouldn't try to read too much into it other than him setting the precedent. This year is no different. We will take a quarterback every year if it fits our needs. So, and quarterback's one of those positions that you typically, I won't say skip a year, but you don't go get a big prospect every year. But it sounds like Hugh Freeze, not that it's going to happen every year, but at least it's on the table every year. Rob says, are we still waiting on Freeze to pick up another linebacker, or are we good? It's let's go back to the areas that he pointed out specifically that we needed help. Quarterback, offensive line. I think he did. I can't remember if he said wide receiver ever, but I think he kind of hinted at we could use some more playmakers or things like that on offense. So that's kind of what you think right there. But he also said edge rusher. Now, here's the thing about edge rusher, and it's becoming more and more common. We just call them edge rushers, but they really, truly are. And this is just my opinion. You may say you're wrong, Kyle, but it's just my opinion. Edge rushers are essentially whatever they need to be. Defensive ends or linebackers or some hybrid of, they really are a hybrid of the two. So in this sense, Rob, when we picked up the guy from App State, Jalen McLeod, we did kind of help linebackers. Edge rushing help is probably what he was really wanting. Now, he may have said we need some more linebacker depth there, but if you really think about who we've got a crop of really tenured guys here, thinking of Cam Riley, thinking of Wesley Steiner, Robert Woodyard's not tenured, but he's been here for at least a season. Eugene Asante, and now you brought in Demario Talon. You've brought in Austin Keys from the transfer portal this year. So that's 5 guys alone right there. Six guys, do math, Kyle, off the top of my head, that I would say, again, if the opportunity presents itself and they're going to help us, bring them in. But I don't really know that that's going to be an area that we're really seeking. Really, it kind of becomes wide receivers now. There's a couple of high profile people out there that have expressed interest to visit, interest in Auburn in general. Colorado guy, people speculate that the Michigan State guy will come over with his quarterback. We shall see. We shall see. Kevin says, I saw someone today comment saying the Football Performance Center was heavily damaged by a faulty water line. Is this true or fake news? I have not seen that today. Now, I will be honest with you. I have not been as vigilant on social media. And this is kind of what I was talking about. Content creators, we kind of wind ourselves down for a little bit from just the constant being on we have to be in the space. And so it's kind of natural to kind of pull back a little bit, but you kind of have to remember things like this may happen. You may not be aware of them. So I'm not aware of this. I wouldn't be shocked if there was. It feels like every time you have a new building or something like that, whether it's Football Performance Center or just some administration building for academics, feels like every time you have new construction, when things start settling, things could break. So it wouldn't surprise me, but I don't know if it was heavily damaged. If it was, that's a shame. Hopefully they can get that fixed in the 3 months of downtime. If it's going to happen, now's the time for it to happen, because before they truly come back for fall camp starting in August, you got 3 months. It's May, 2/3 of May, June, and most of July. So 2.5 months essentially to get things fixed. Hopefully they can do that if this is true. He did say that we were solid on the O-line concerning the numbers of players they have. Yeah, I think numbers is fine now. And when we did, I hope you guys have had an opportunity to check out our video breaking down Muskrat, Jaden Muskrat. Can we all go ahead and just give him the best name award this season? I mean, I'm serious. Look, we've had princes, we've had kings, we've had every interesting play on words name that you could have, but we have not had a muskrat yet. And that is just hilarious to me. I love it. And it's all the jokes and stuff are made in good faith and just having fun, but it's still an interesting last name. So he gets my award already for best name on the team. Present to me somebody with a better name. I'd love to see it on the team thus far. Yeah, I would say in terms of numbers, we're good. But I think there is the individual today who said he was going to visit. It's a 2024. So you will probably shift to seeing more concentration about 2024 guys getting them here and committing and things like that. Will these new transfers potentially make this team better? Robert, you are asking the $1 million question. And my answer to you is, how am I supposed to know? How was any of us supposed to know until they actually get out there on the field? Here's what we do know. I'll try to answer your question. Auburn had a singular area of need in terms of what was damaging most on this team. And you can make this argument somewhere, several different ways, but I think if we all sit down and hash it out, we will go to one place that was the problem for this team, not just last season, not just the season, but it's been this way for a while: offensive line. And that is recruiting, but it's also this ugly word, this overused word, development of them. And there's also, numbers games, who you can and can't bring in and what opportunities are. We had a large crop of guys that have been here for quite some time. And just for whatever reason, at this point, it never worked out. So the answer I can say to this is, will they make the team better? I would hope so. And I think chances are high that these offensive linemen, because if you look at a unit that's been completely replenished by the by transfer portal, it's the offensive line. I mean, let me see if I can get them off the top of my head. Connor Britton, Dylan Wade, now Jaden Muskrat, who'll probably be a guard. They'll probably be guards alongside each other. Isaiah Miller and Avery. I almost said Avery Young. That was a former offensive lineman, but help me, Avery Jones. And then there's still others too. There's new guys that were brought in traditional recruiting wise. So to answer the question, I would say yes, the likelihood is high, simply because it couldn't get much worse. And I know that sounds like a veiled shot at the guys that were here. I'm just stating off what we could see. I love them and I appreciate their time here, but the reality is it just never came together like we needed it to. Everybody else is just pure speculation. You could probably make an argument at quarterback if Thorne wins the job. that might be an improvement because he's so experienced. But it's still the $1 million question. I do not know the official roster count. I will try to remember one day this week to kind of sit down and put that on there and start having a running tally for myself. Here's some numbers I can give you. 37 commitments and signees in this class this year. That's counting regular signing day stuff and early signing day stuff, and now transfer portal all the way up until now. And if you anticipate Auburn to bring in a wide receiver this year, or excuse me, in the next few weeks, that'll be 39. And a lot of people expect them to bring in 2. So that would be 40. Wait, no, that would be 30, 38 and 39. Wow, that was embarrassing. That just happened live. I promise you, I am not good in math. I have an Auburn degree. It's just not very math heavy. That is a stout name. I don't know if Stout Thomas is the way I think of the name. It's just intriguing. Like, somebody, what's the study of like family histories? It's not entomology because that's insects. Etymology, I think is what it's called. Etymology, going back and study, genetics and family history and stuff like that. Or no. Etymology would be the study of like phonetics and of a name. Anyway, you go back. I want to know the first person who had the muskrat last name. Like, was it truly the muskrat was adopted? Or they took the name for that animal from this person's last name, or did someone way down the line in the family tree of muskrat say, you know what, we need a new last name. It's Muskrat. They looked at one and they said, here it is. Tonight, your show is brought to you by the word muskrat. WT, good to see you. Thank you so much for checking in. He says, Smoke was my favorite name for Auburn, for an Auburn player. I will admit in my fantasy football teams, I had Smoke Tuesday, just playoff Smoke Monday, as my name of choice for several seasons while he was here. Ooh, that's a good one. Messiah Nasili Kite. Oh, is it? Yeah, Nasili, not Nasil. Nasili Kite. Kite's, it's cool. Like it makes you stop for a second and think about it. But come on, Muskrat. Wow. Hard to beat the name Tank. But yeah, so there are names that make you go, yeah, that's Tank, and King and Prince, I guess. I don't know, because we had Prince Tega Wannago Jr. And at one point we had, I think somebody named, and we had a Duke too. But, Muskrat just makes you go, The things that make you go, He's going to see this and be like, oh my gosh, guys, shut up. I'm just intrigued. I'm sorry. Jared, has the starting quarterback been named? Who do you believe it will be? I'm here to break the news to you, Jared, that the starting quarterback will be, we don't know, because nobody's going to know until we get to fall camp. If you're a betting man, I would not blame you for putting money on Thorne. I'm not advocating for that, but I would say that you're not being unwise with that bet. But that's not because I think that necessarily he should automatically be the starting quarterback. I'm just going off of what I know, and I know that experience wins out a lot of the time, and rightfully so. So, I think I'll just go with the easy answer right now. I think Thorne by a small smidgen of a margin. Robbie Ashford's been here to put in the work and is doing everything, at least publicly, he should do to handle this situation and every situation that's been presented to him. Not being named the starter when at the start of the season, and so on and so forth. Had some really great moments in a very dark season for Auburn. So I think right now it is as 50-50 as you could be without being naive. Does that make sense? So I would go with the easy answer right now. Freeze did a really good job in the portal rebuild. And after a winning season, 2025 should be epic. So you're saying, are you skipping 2023? It's not going to be a winning season? And then 2024, is that what am I following your train of thought correctly there? Or are you just off on your years? I think the way speculatively, in terms of filling needs that we have, you should feel really good right now with what I suggest is every Auburn fan should expect this program to win 8 games every year. That is your 4 non-conference games. And, that can be a little more difficult if you play a Penn State, if you play a Clemson, if you play a USC back in the day. So, when you play teams like Cal and UCLA right now, that's a little bit easier. But you should do that. That gives you 4 wins, and then you should expect at least 4 wins out of SEC play, which would be, not even counting Alabama and Georgia in some years. But I think that's what you should expect. So, to me, I think it's starting to look more promising that they can meet those 8-4 expectations this year. We'll see. You would think with a year extra under your belt and getting recruiting kind of firmly going in the way you want it done, 2024 would be maybe a little bit more successful depending on that first year. And then the next year, 2025, yeah, sure. All right, we got somebody saying that the count on the roster is 79. Not sure how accurate this is. Like I said, I'll go look it up. I'm not going to do it. Y'all saw how much I struggled counting earlier. So we're not going to do a live counting and tallying here because that'll be just embarrassing. WT, thank you. Genealogy would be a good way of saying that, but there's a study of names and phonetics, and I think it is called etymology, like ETYOL. Oh, wow. This is embarrassing. GY. You ain't got no alibi. You ugly. You okay. Anyway. Wow, that was embarrassing. A lot of embarrassing moments for me tonight. That's the beauty of this show. There's no script, no plan. And so sometimes I put my foot in my mouth and then remove it and put it back in. Any truth that Peyton Thorne's middle name is Buckys? I think that's his new goal in life, is just to get me to say Buckys. Ironically enough that you should bring that up. Most of you know that we were there for opening day. We put out just an uncut footage reel that I hope you guys have had a chance to see. We've done it on a podcast. We've had a video out there for you, kind of a segment of that talking about it. I've been hinting that I'm putting together a shorter version of all that footage into a nice little reel, and I spent a lot of time this afternoon working on it. My hope and plan is to finish it and maybe get it out by the end of the week. We shall see if that happens. But a lot of good stuff in there. Just if you want to know, if you don't want to watch all that footage, the opening ceremony that we posted, the Auburn Buckys highlight reel is coming. But no, he is not. His middle name is not Buckys. At least not that I'm aware of. It would be hilarious if it was, though. Okay, what else is on your mind tonight, folks? What do you got? What are you thinking about? What do you want to know? I know it's not the most prevalent program a lot of times, but softball is in the middle of their SEC tournament, just starting their play, actually. And that begins tomorrow against Ole Miss, I believe. I'm trying to bring it up right now so we can all look at it and talk about it a little bit. Where did it go? Where did it go? I'm trying to find it, and I wish I had music to play. I'll wait for it to load. When are we going to get cut? You ask me this every single night, WT. My answer to you is I don't have any plans not to put him on there. It's just one of those things that I do. I change a lot. Now, I guess if you notice, I did put like a new border on it because it caught my eye that it needed a little bit of something there, and took some things out of the corner. But there's no reason why I haven't changed it. I actually was thinking about you because I know you ask me this every single week. It kind of feels like right to change it at the beginning of a new year. And we started with this new promo image, thumbnail, like 2 months ago. And that's kind of the people that were prevalent at that time. So that's why they're in there. And it doesn't even have to be people in there. I just try to put things that people recognize. And obviously Cadillac was very, very prominent. Kevin, All right, we'll go back to softball in a little bit. How do you feel about SEC cracking down on fans storming the field? Is there some new revelation or new rule that I'm not aware of? I mean, I know they kind of addressed that earlier in the year, but is there something new that prompted the response or prompted the question that I don't know about? If there is, let me know in the chat. I mean, I understand. Good luck is what I have to say. There comes a point where you realize fining universities isn't going to do anything. Like, sure, does it make them step up their game? But if, in Auburn's case, 87 to 90,000, probably just in other personnel alone in that stadium, want to rush the field, there's nothing you can do to stop it, short of very other things that are not appropriate and would not ever happen. You will not be able to control a crowd like that in a moment of sheer bliss like that. I think increasing fines obviously puts the pressure on the universities, but at some point it doesn't really do anything except earn that office more money, I guess. And maybe that's what they want. I don't know. So my thing is, I don't think the fining is working all that well. So find some other thing to do. Arrest some people. I'm not really advocating for that, but to me, it just seems like a money grab more than a solution. People want to get on the field. They're going to get on the field. I believe they're talking about penalizing the team. Not sure when they are implementing this. So that might be a route. That would be a route. If you're saying like they vacate the win or something like that, then yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it right there. But the problem is you're always going to have a certain segment of the fan base that's going to go rogue and do it anyway, and then create that mob mentality. So there almost kind of has to be this understanding that if 10,000 or more estimate get on the field, then that's when you find the team. Like there's going to be some of that element in this sheer, I hate to use this word, but it's ecstasy of that moment. All right. Keep your comments and questions coming. A lot of good topics here tonight. How will Auburn baseball, I guess, or is that softball? I can't tell on my screen because it's only giving me the sport ball symbol. Will finish the season. How will they finish the season? Will they make a run in the SEC tournament? Will they make a regional? Okay, so you're at that context I can work with there. That's baseball. Based on how they're playing right now, they're going to make a regional. I think I saw somebody saying that there's still hope for them to host a regional. And while that may be true, I mean, if you win out the rest of the way, if you convincingly win the series, meaning even if it's just 2 games, like you just dominate those other 2 and then do that against, is it Missouri that we end the season with? If you end very strong, if you sweep everybody to end the season, you're going to be hosting a regional, probably the way they're playing right now, and then do well in the SEC tournament. So obviously that option's available to them. I think they will win the series in Ole Miss based on how we talked about this last night. So I hope you guys will join us this Tuesday night. It's because we'll only really have 2 more times of doing one more time of doing that. Really, we'll have to look at the schedule. Midweek chats where we talk about what's going on in the baseball week. And yeah, I think they'll make the tournament. I think they will probably fall somewhere in a 3 seed and play strong. I don't know if they'll make it out of the regional, but they have definitely showed they need to be respected. I will guarantee you this. Whoever Auburn finds themselves in a regional with, whether they're hosting or not, will not want to be in that same regional with Auburn, given their offense alone. WT is very optimistic. Wins the SEC. I love the optimism. I think it's a little misplaced, but hey, I love it. They're talking about taking away home games for storming the field. I'm just thinking for a second. Sometimes it's good to stop and think before you just respond, whether I like that or not. That hurts the team, to some degree, but it obviously hurts the fans more. And and I think the understanding would have to be there that there's no refund given if that game is canceled or something. Like, what does that mean? Does that mean, so let's say Auburn beats Georgia for the first time in 10 years. It hasn't reached that point. Well, anyway, beats somebody significant on their home field, storms the field. The streak's over, we win. Does that mean if Alabama is playing at home, we go play the Iron Bowl there? Or the next game after that? Or because, now Georgia's in the middle. How does that work? I don't know. That's intriguing. It hurts the team. It hurts the fans. And then it becomes more of instead of mob being controlled by the people storming the field, the mob of the people don't hurt our team, keeping at least the majority of them back. There's got to be some understanding of, hey, the control, we need help from the fans to control this. We need help from the university. And there's got to be some leeway to account for the portion of that group that will not be controlled. That might be a reasonable step. I don't like it, because the good thing is here is we don't have anybody right now that I know of that is like a thing that would cause us to storm the field outside of it being the Bama game. You might say Georgia right now, but like I just used the example of, this isn't Vanderbilt beating Alabama, right? That's what, can we just be honest? These rules are for things like Vanderbilt beating Alabama, Vanderbilt beating Georgia, those type of scenarios. I do hope that we see less and less of the field storming, unless it's actually a significant. It's great when it's warranted. The Tennessee storming the field, beautiful. Needed to happen. Been a while. Supposedly it's a rivalry. Don't penalize that. Gracie, good to see you. We have 6 spots left on the roster, so I think we get an edge, defensive back, 2 wide receivers, and an offensive tackle. So that, let me make sure I got your numbers right. You said an edge, defensive back, says forward. So you're saying we leave an extra spot. So that's what I was going to say. Typically you see coaches leave a spot or 2 available to give to scholarships to kids. Now, I don't know if that happens in first year with Hugh Freeze, him still getting to know people, but there's still plenty of staff around that know these guys, this team very well, knows who's deserving of that. So, and you also want to keep spots available if you can for those interesting transfer portal drops that may happen at the last second. Now, and there's windows have already opened and closed and things like that. I get that, but you always want to keep spots open if you can. So I would agree with you about wide receiver, at least 1. From what it seems like, we've been talking about a little bit, offensive lines numbers seem to be where they want them to be. Doesn't mean you don't take somebody. Maybe edge. I don't know about defensive back. So I agree to some degree and disagree in some other areas. Auburn has so much softball talent, so why can't we win the World Series? Why is it always Oklahoma and UCLA when we have the same talent? Well, that has very little to do with Auburn. Some sports, they get, unfortunately, really top heavy, and that kind of hurts the sport. You see that a lot in women's basketball. You see that a lot right now in softball. We talked about this on the Auburn Experience show this week about how patience was really needed for Mickey Dean, given some other things that happened before he got here and what he took over. And then with COVID and everything, how the talent is now kind of, it's trending in the right direction. So the patience has been rewarded, and it still requires a little bit more patience given the context of how top heavy the sport is right now. Let it disperse a little bit. We're doing things, like beating Alabama in a series, and we're the overall 3 seed. So you better be happy with that. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't be. Since we're on that topic, we'll bounce around to other things. Let me bring up, excuse me. I just want to see like the official bracket, not the weird written out one. Let me go over here. Let me go over here and look at this bracket. Here we go. I think we'll have it now. Live updates. Oh, that's going to be a terrible thing to load there. Sorry, I know this is boring show now. When Kyle tries to do things that he should have done pre-show. See, here's the problem is when you go to some of these websites, no, that's the NCAA bracket. They don't show you immediately what you want to see. They just show you kind of the boring. All right, here we go. Got it pulled up now. So I may actually try to show you guys this if I can. Let's see. Stand by. Nah, I don't know that it's going to allow me to do it. Anyway, so tomorrow, Auburn versus Ole Miss, 3 versus 11. I can't remember how we did or if we did play Ole Miss this season, but you would expect Auburn to go forward, and then it becomes a showdown with Georgia, which is probably Auburn got a game from them this year, so that's doable. And then it becomes, I hope that the bracket goes chalk, which would be seeds 1 through 4 move on to the semifinals, including Auburn. I think Auburn, if they win this one, you kind of meet expectations, but it'd be nice to make it to the championship game this year at the very least. They're also back to football. We're also taking away bowl eligibility, but I can't see the SEC missing that cash cow. Yeah, that doesn't. I don't think that one's going to go through. Taking away home field advantage. That's an intriguing, especially if you don't issue refunds for season tickets and things. That's a powerful tool. Ooh, it's interesting. Good to see you, Cody. Corey. We could get another deal. I'm talking about Markel Bell, 6'9". Ooh, that's a big one. 345, as my uncle would say. He had a few biscuits, didn't he? Could enroll this summer. Yeah, I mean, there's lots of options out there on the table still, but that doesn't mean that they're going to happen. Muskrat started at right tackle opposite of Dylan Wade at Tulsa. I feel Muskrat will slide to guard. What do y'all think? I think that's the conventional wisdom. I think a lot of people expect him to slide into a more guard position. But the great thing is this: we've got a guy with versatility, it seems like. And the way and our luck with offensive linemen getting injured this year or this past, well, really for a while now, it's nice to have a guy, if he stays healthy, have some versatility. It's cool also to have 2 former teammates, and those 2 former teammates being with their former head coach. Now there's OC. Good thing all the way around. I think if you look at who Auburn already brought in, I kind of laid it out earlier. Gunnar Britton at a tackle, Isavian Miller at a tackle. Probably Jeremiah Wright is in the running for the guard position too. Avery Young for center. And then Dylan Wade and or Muskrat. Still an awesome name, isn't it? Gunnar Britton. Gunner's a pretty awesome name too. WT says he loves the family night livecast. It's good to have a group of fans, have friendly chats and questions. Awesome. Great. That's what we hope that we provide here for you. And listen, there's a lot of people that do varying degrees of Auburn content out there, and I'm sure they have their own great communities. But I do think that we do things a little bit different and, in a hopefully an exceptional way. And, while we don't draw the biggest crowds out there, I hope that you guys feel welcome every time that you come here. And even if you get a little pushback on the things that you're saying, that's part of the discussion thing. It's amazing to me. I'm going to have my soapbox for a second here, whether it's about Auburn stuff, about sports in general, that people don't understand the difference between a discussion and an argument. Especially when it's hard to tell that via like the internet, social media, all that stuff. And it's hard to really have productive conversations on that because you misinterpret what people say. But even just like with interpersonal in front of your face, people have just lost the ability to understand just because I disagree with you doesn't mean this is an argument. It's a discussion. It's an interesting thing that's happened in our society. And now I will remove my soapbox. Good question, Gracie. We've talked about it. I will go look up. I'm guessing you asked if who won Auburn or Ole Miss in their series, the softball series. I am running before someone else beats me there on this show because you guys are good at that. I can't place if we played them. I'm looking. Here we go. We won that series. First game 8-2, lost the second one 1-4, and then won the game 3 1-0. That was back at the very beginning of April. So it's been a minute. So things could have changed with them and obviously with us. But if you look at it, we're the 3 seed, they're the 11 seed. They've already upset the 6 seed. So obviously they're playing a little bit better, right? So that should be a little bit worrisome. But Auburn hopefully will go through so that the thing remains chalk. Ooh, Corey, good question. Good question. Will they add Oklahoma and or Texas to the schedule this year or the next year? Well, they're not scheduled to be in the SEC until the 2024. Well, okay. So I think officially, I don't think any of this has been confirmed unless I missed it. 2025 is when they both were supposed to be in the SEC, starting for that season. The college football playoff will adjust after this year to a larger format in 2024. That tells you a lot, right? It tells you that they're anticipating some changes already happening, so they're adjusting too. So I would suspect that tells you something. And if I misunderstood this, or maybe this was a fake story, I don't know. Did anybody else see this? That apparently the Texas AD is going to some of the SEC meetings just to sit in and learn, which is very commendable. I think if that's the case, that should also inform you a little bit, not a lot, but it kind of begins to paint the picture. It begins to fan the flames. What do we always say here? Where there's smoke, there is fire, but to what degree? So my assumption would be this. The official statement is that they will not begin play in SEC until 2025, if I'm not mistaken. But given the nature of the playoffs and other things churning forward with the Big 12 expanding and getting them the new team settled in there, it stands to reason that this will be accelerated to some degree. Kind of like with my last statement, but to what degree? So to the schedule this year, meaning this season, is that what you're saying? That can't happen. Like the schedule set. Now they release the schedules for next season, usually in the middle of the season. Don't know why they do this. I don't know why they don't release the schedule for the next season right before this season begins, because that's makes more sense to me as a content creator. But what do I care? Or what do they care about me? Do that, and or you have to wait for that to figure out what the next year's schedule will be. So no, it will not be on this season because can't happen. Those are already set. Times are already set. TVs, things are already picked out. But the next season, maybe. Feels like it's a push. But it could happen. It could happen. Let's see here. 2 5-star wide receivers. Remember, stars don't matter. Let me back that up because everybody gets there, especially you recruiting like fanatics get ruffled when you say it. They don't matter as much as most people put the emphasis on them. Cam Coleman, Perry Thompson in the Auburn 2024 class. We get Keon Coleman, who's the Michigan State guy, played with our new potential quarterback, Peyton Thorne, for 2 years. We're talking elite 2019 LSU. Well, you don't know that, Gracie. You don't know that they would be elite. And see that I'm trying to, not that I'm trying to say that I've got the best perspective on this, but I'm actively trying to speak this into our culture. We have, as sports fans in general, but as Auburn fans too, I want us to be better than, I want us to be examples of always saying, well, these guys are going to be elite. You don't know that. Like we don't know that. I don't know that. You don't know that. Nobody knows that. we're operating off of speculation, which is fun to do. And I'm not trying to stop that from happening, but we've got to be careful because we build these people up in our minds. So A, when they don't come here, then our world crashes down. B, when they do come here and they don't measure up or they don't meet those expectations, then we start dogging them. I don't have a C in my mind ready, but anyway, it's just one of those things that I think we need to be very careful. And I'm not trying to pick on your comment there, but speculation, sure. I could make the case this squad that's here right now without any additions could be elite to that level. They could be. Hard to make that case, but you could make it. But you could understand why having a little bit more hype is just a good thing, though. Alabama's baseball coach thought he was Pete Rose. I didn't really dive into the situation all that much other than just kind of knowing the basic thing that he got involved with some gambling stuff that he shouldn't have on related to baseball. And here's the thing, folks. Brad Bohannon was our former assistant coach. He left us to go be the head coach at Alabama. Already left a sour taste in my mouth. So I kind of, it's not that I have any sympathy for Alabama folks, but when you do that, it kind of takes a little bit of the extra sympathy away. So unfortunately, if he was doing that there, was he doing that while he was here as an assistant coach? So that's a little bit scary. So while we celebrate these things, we also need to consider, does that get tied back to us? We all know that Alabama would love to see little brother share in their sufferings. I continue to say, though, that the previous week was not a good time to be associated, member of the athletic department, the support staff. Man, it was PR. That's one of those weeks where I go, is there a new job out there I could take? Oh, goodness gracious. Gracie's talking about Cam Coleman and Perry Thompson. They have size and top end speed all up them. Make sure you're writing out a little bit better. It's hard to understand what you're saying. They're 6'4". We either have tall guys or speed guys, not guys who are both. Those three wide receivers are both. Right now, they're wide receivers at that level. They're those type of wide receivers at that level. Now, usually you see those things that we see at, I shouldn't say usually. A lot of the time you see the things that they do in high school translate over to the next level, whatever that next level is, but to what degree and to what, and some of that is their own a lot of that is their own doing, but some of that's coaching, some of that's opportunity. So yeah, they look like that now. I could point to you to several people in Auburn's past that looked exactly like you're saying that now, or met the certain need that we needed, and it didn't work out. So that's what I'm just saying. Don't put so much emphasis on these guys and say that they're elite or they will be elite when we don't know that. It's just it's a mentality shift that I'm trying to help us here as an E2C network family, but also I'm hoping that it'll carry over into all of our conversations. Like anybody cares what I think, but it's what I do for a living. All right, we're sitting at about 53 minutes in to the show. So we are close to winding down. We're not going away just yet, but let me go ahead and do this part of the show as we always do. So stick around here. First thing I'd like you to do is if you're here live especially, or if you're watching on the replay all the way up to this point, stay to the end, because what should happen is at the very end of this broadcast on YouTube specifically, it should take you over to our next scheduled live stream, which we have already available for you. And Kyle failed. Let's see if I can do it really quick. Bring it up for you. Our next scheduled live stream, which will be, there it is, the Auburn Experience Show this Sunday night at 9. Austin and myself, every week, you see clips about this throughout the week too that we share out, and put out a clip from that on YouTube today about the War Eagle flight. We didn't even talk about that on this show. Jeez. Not that we haven't talked about it enough. But hope you can do that. Stay onto that page. Hit the like button ahead of time if you can. I know it seems stupid. I know it seems simple, but it is a huge help to kind of garner interest on the live stream here on YouTube. So do that if you can, and hit the notify me bell too, so you know exactly, even if you're subscribed, you need to do that because it'll send you an extra thing so you know anytime that we're going live, but especially for that specific live stream. And I got so focused on doing the other thing that I didn't pay attention to what I was doing, and should have reminded you also to subscribe if you haven't. Be a channel member for $1 a month here on YouTube. You could also be a Booster Club member starting at $1 a month and higher if you like. Why did it say that thing twice on there? That was interesting. Anyway, all those links in the description. Please do check them out if you can. But we appreciate you just being here, smashing the like button, hanging out with us, and spending some time being a part of our family within the Auburn family. A couple things. Let's see what else you guys are saying here, and then keep the comments and questions going. We'll wind out our show here in a little bit. Keon, the Michigan State guy, played basketball first at Michigan State. Well, that's a good sign for his jumping ability. I like that. I like it. I like it a lot. We have 3 shutouts so far on schedule: UMass, New Mexico State, and Stanford. Again, you're operating a lot of hyperbole tonight, Gracie. We will not shut all of them out. We will, you could shut out one of them, but let's see where the defense is going to look like before we start making those type of predictions. Will we beat those 3? Yes. You can safely say that. Will we beat them significantly? Should. Always should. Same thing probably for Cal too. But yeah. Hypothetical question. If Thorne is the starter, do you think they would use Ashford like they used Ontario in some plays? Like Ontario McCaleb? As I, in a very stoic manner, take a sip of my drink to think about it. If you mean in like a speed sweep situation type of, like a out in the boundary type of guy, if that's what you mean, Corey, yeah. I mean, that's what you use his speed for. My hope, my belief also is that Hugh will honor Robbie if he does not win the starting job by his support when he got here, by playing him in whatever fashion. Now, not this 2 quarterback system business that we tried again this year. It never works. It didn't work with anybody. You have one quarterback, but like, think about when they finally switched from Jalen to Tua. Tua was the guy, but Jalen came in and did things when they needed him to. And it worked out really well for them. So yes, you could utilize him in some other ways. Jet sweeps, other plays. Yeah, but they'll utilize him as a true quarterback. I don't want us also to get, and I know you're not, Corey, but I'm just saying, like, I don't want us to get into this conversation that we're just relegating him to running plays. I mean, his goal is to be a quarterback right now, and that may change, but so he would want to be utilized that way, and is going to, we're going to need him ready to go. If, I think Thorne's also had some injury issues too. So we need him ready to go as much as we can. Georgia can shut out Stanford last year. Why could we not? Did you see Georgia and did you see us? I'm not trying to be mean, Gracie, but that's not a good comparison. And I know it's 2 different seasons, but we're coming off of a pretty rough patch here. So yeah, that's not a good comparison. They could use him that way in a wildcat formation, Jarquez in the shotgun. Ooh, kind of like that. I'm kind of like that. Does Hugh use a lot of jet sweeps like Gus? I don't know. I haven't watched his film a lot. I don't remember a lot of jet sweeps, but I remember his offense as being fast and dynamic. That would kind of lend itself to using those type of plays, right? So, yeah. Did you see Georgia versus Mizzou last year? I did. Everybody has a fluke, right? But because
because I believe Missouri almost beat them, right? After they coughed it up to us. Georgia beating Stanford does not equate us, or shutting out Stanford does not equate us shutting out Stanford. Oh, Gregorio, I'm glad you got here at the end. He says, couldn't tune in today, been busy. But yes, please do watch the replay if you can. That same Georgia almost went to Kent State, Missouri. They should have lost those 2 games. They did enough to win. Here I am defending Georgia for some reason. Anyway, there was something that I kind of wanted to hit right before we end here, and I don't know what it was now. It has escaped me. Let me just fill the time for a second while we okay, final comments and questions, get those in while I try to think of what that was. A couple of videos we put out this week for you guys. Obviously, if you haven't, please do go check out the video about our new offensive lineman transfer. Put out a video today, a segment from the Auburn Experience show with Austin and myself about the War Eagle flight. And like I said, we probably got a Auburn Buckys highlight reel coming out for you. Hopefully by the end of the week, we shall see if it gets completed. But as always, stay tuned to us here on all the social medias. Sometimes there's special content that we put out on different formats. So you always want to make sure that you are following everything. So I give you all these things to do at the end of the show. The biggest thing that you can do for us is try to be part of our army, in a sense, to continue to grow the army, get people here on Wednesday nights to be part of our little family, the Auburn family, get them to follow stuff, to the podcast, the YouTube channel, all that stuff. Would love to continue to see that happen. So that's the biggest thing that I could ask of you guys, if you do nothing else. Cannot for the life of me think of what that thing was that I wanted to bring up, but we are going to close down the phone lines officially tonight and start to wrap up our show. Final comments, questions, derogatory rebuttals as we get out of here. We get Georgia at home this year, so hopefully we'll put them in their rightful place in the backyard, as all good doggies belong. Well said. Well said. It's high time we started making it a more regular competitive matchup every single year. Good show tonight and good crowd all the way around. We really appreciate you being here, hanging out with us, spending some time, part of our little Auburn family, little family within the Auburn family. And I look forward to Wednesday night shows every single week. I hope to see you this Sunday night. Stay tuned right after this and smash the like button on the next upcoming live stream, that Auburn Experience show, and help us out. And until we see you then, or another time here on E2C Network, I really appreciate you guys. And as always, War Eagle.